Welcome to Copilot Podcasts. Did you know that 80% of Filipino professionals are ready to work abroad right now? That's not just a number, it's a phenomenon that's reshaping the global workforce. Today, we're diving into why Filipino workers are in such high demand worldwide, where they're going, and the fascinating cultural dynamics at play.
And it's not just about the numbers, we're talking about a workforce that's fundamentally changing how international companies think about talent.
Let's start with something that really caught my attention. Filipino workers are consistently ranked among the most sought-after employees globally. What makes them stand out?
Well, there are several key factors, but let's start with language. According to recent studies, the Philippines ranks among the top 3 most English-proficient countries in Southeast Asia.
That's impressive. And I imagine that makes a huge difference in international workplaces.
Absolutely. About 80% of Filipino adults can understand both written and spoken English. That's a massive advantage in global business.
But it's not just about language, right?
Not at all. There's this fascinating cultural aspect called pakikisama. It's essentially the art of getting along with others and fostering harmony in the workplace.
That sounds like it would be incredibly valuable in today's global teams.
Let me share a real example that perfectly illustrates this. There was a case where a critical system failure occurred at 3:17 a.m. Pacific time. While other global teams waited for approvals, the Filipino team jumped into action immediately.
Without being asked?
Exactly. They had the problem solved by 4:45 a.m. before the executives in Silicon Valley even started their day. No one asked them to stay late, it was just their natural response.
That's incredible. Where are we seeing the highest demand for Filipino workers?
The Gulf Cooperation Council countries, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, remain major destinations. They're launching massive infrastructure and tourism projects that create sustained demand.
And what kinds of roles are we talking about?
It's quite diverse: construction, healthcare, hospitality, domestic services. But we're also seeing growing demand in East Asia, particularly Japan and South Korea.
What's driving the demand in East Asia?
Primarily their aging populations. Both countries have introduced special programs to recruit Filipino caregivers and healthcare workers.
That's fascinating. And I've heard the economic impact of all this is pretty significant.
The numbers are staggering. In just the first quarter of 2025, personal remittances from overseas Filipinos reached $9.4 billion.
Billion with a B? That's enormous.
Yes, and it's growing. There was a 2.7% increase compared to the same period last year.
Where's most of this money coming from?
The United States is actually the top source, followed by Singapore and Saudi Arabia.
But here's something that concerns me. With 80% of Filipinos wanting to work abroad, could this create problems for the Philippines itself?
That's a valid concern. Some experts are warning about potential talent shortages in the future, especially in critical sectors.
What's driving so many Filipinos to want to work abroad?
The research shows it's primarily financial motives and career progression. They're also attracted by better social systems and healthcare in other countries.
And what about the 20% who don't want to leave?
They cite family ties, relocation costs, and strong attachment to their home country as the main reasons.
Let's talk about adaptability. I've heard that's another key factor in their success abroad.
Yes, Filipino workers are known for being quick learners and adapting easily to new work environments. This makes them particularly valuable in today's fast-changing global workplace.
And I understand there's something special about how they approach teamwork?
Absolutely. Filipino culture places a strong emphasis on collective success rather than individual achievement. This creates naturally collaborative team members.
That's interesting because in many Western workplaces, there's such a focus on individual performance.
Exactly, and that's where we see this fascinating paradox. These seemingly soft cultural traits actually lead to harder business results.
Can you elaborate on that?
Companies that align their management style with Filipino cultural values see significantly higher employee retention rates, around 85 to 90%, and better customer satisfaction scores.
Those are impressive numbers.
And it goes beyond just statistics. These cultural traits create teams that self-regulate and maintain high standards without constant oversight.
Like that 3 a.m. incident you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. That wasn't an isolated incident, it's a reflection of deeply ingrained cultural values.
What about the future? Are we likely to see this demand continue?
All indicators suggest yes. The combination of skills, cultural adaptability, and English proficiency makes Filipino workers particularly well suited for emerging industries.
What kinds of emerging industries are we talking about?
AI, robotics, data infrastructure, biotech. These are all areas where we're seeing growing demand for skilled workers who can adapt quickly.
And Filipino workers are well positioned for these roles?
Absolutely. Their combination of technical skills and soft skills makes them ideal candidates as these industries become more globally integrated.
What about challenges? Are there any potential downsides to this global demand?
The main concern is brain drain, the risk of losing too much skilled talent from the Philippines itself.
How serious is that risk?
According to recent data, about 35% of Filipinos prefer long-term work abroad without plans to return. That's significantly higher than workers from neighboring countries.
That sounds like it could create some real challenges for the Philippines.
Yes, but there's also a positive side. The skills and experience gained abroad often flow back to benefit the Philippine economy.
Through remittances?
Not just remittances, but also through knowledge transfer and international business connections.
Let's talk about how companies can best work with Filipino talent. Any key insights?
The most successful companies adapt their management style to leverage Filipino cultural strengths, focusing on relationship building and collective success rather than just individual metrics.
That seems like a big shift for many Western companies.
It is, but the results speak for themselves. Companies that make this shift see higher productivity and lower turnover.
Any final thoughts on where this trend is heading?
I think we're going to see Filipino workers continue to play an increasingly important role in the global workforce, especially as companies realize that cultural strengths can be major business advantages.
So when you step back from all this, what's the bigger picture here?
The success of Filipino workers globally is showing us that in today's interconnected world, cultural values that emphasize collaboration and adaptability aren't just nice to have, they're becoming essential for business success.
And it's changing how companies think about talent?
Exactly. It's shifting the focus from just technical skills to a more holistic view of what makes a great employee.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode of Copilot Podcasts. Remember that 3 a.m. incident we mentioned? It shows that sometimes the best business solutions come from cultural values that don't show up on any resume. Thanks for listening.